Hello students, in this video we will talk about the third kingdom of the five kingdom classification, which is kingdom fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic organisms. Eukaryotic organisms are organisms whose cells have a true nucleus enclosed within a nuclear membrane. Fungi are multicellular, except yeast, which is unicellular. Fungi are heterotrophic in nature. That is, these organisms cannot manufacture their own food and depends on others for their food and nutrition. They can be parasitic, saprophytic, and symbiotic. Now let us understand the structure of fungi. The body of fungi is made up of thread-like structures called hyphae. Each fungus has a vast number of hyphae, which appears as a web-like structure called mycelium. Now hyphae are of two types. Number 1, septate hyphae, and number 2, aseptate hyphae. Septate hyphae have septum. Septum is a partition or a dividing wall or membrane. So this septum divides the nucleus. So there are distinguishable cells in septate hyphae. Whereas in aseptate hyphae there is no septum to divide the cell, and hence the cell appears as multinucleated continuous cell. Fungi can reproduce asexually, sexually, and vegetatively. In asexual reproduction there is no fusion of gametes. That is, there is no fusion of male and female gametes. In sexual reproduction, there is fusion of gametes. And vegetative reproduction is a mode of asexual reproduction which only occurs in plants. Fungi are divided into different classes based on its structure and mode of reproduction. They are Phycomycetes or Zygomycetes, Ascomycetes, and Basidiomycetes. Now students, let us discuss each one of them and understand their mode of reproduction. So let us first start with Phycomycetes or Zygomycetes. The hyphae of Zygomycetes is aseptate. That is, there is no septum present to divide the nucleus. Hence, the hyphae appear as a continuous cell with multi-nucleus. Zygomycetes are saprotrophs or parasitic. That is, they cannot manufacture their own food and depends on other sources for their food and nutrition. Zygomycetes undergo both sexual and asexual reproduction. Let us first understand the asexual mode of reproduction in Zygomycetes. Now students, as you can see, here is a hyphae which has many nucleus without any septum, giving it an appearance of one continuous cell with many nucleus. Now during reproductive season, a new outgrowth is seen arising from the hyphae, the tip of which is swollen. The vertical part of the outgrowth is called the sporangiophore, and the swollen part is known as the sporangium. The nucleus migrates from the hyphae to the sporangium, and then these nucleus will get surrounded by a membrane. And these nucleus with membranes are known as spores. And since we are talking about zygomycetes, the spores are known as zygospores. Now the sporangium will rupture, that is, the sporangium will burst out, and the spores inside the sporangium will be released outside. And now these spores will germinate or grow into a new hyphae. Since there are no male gamete and female gamete involved in this process, hence this process is known as asexual reproduction. Now let us understand the sexual reproduction in zygomycetes. Now in case of sexual reproduction, there is always two gametes involved, one from male and the other from female. But in case of fungi, there is no such specialization of male and female, and instead of male and female, they have negative strain and positive strain. So in sexual reproduction, the gamete from negative strain will fuse with the gamete of positive strain and give rise to a new hypha. Now students, as you can see, there are two hyphas here. The dark green indicates the negative strain and the light green indicates the positive strain. Both the hypha starts producing a bulge that grows towards each other. One nucleus also migrates to the bulge area. These bulges are known as progametangia. Now in the next step, there is formation of septum that separates the hypha from the extended bulge. And now after the formation of the septum, the structure will be known as gametangia. Now in the fourth step, the gametangia will fuse with each other. That is, the wall between the two bulges will disappear, and the nucleus of the two bulge or gametangia will also fuse with each other. And this structure with fused nucleus is known as the zygote. Now this zygote gives rise to a vertical structure which has a swollen tip. The vertical structure is known as sporangia 4. But since it arises from a zygote, the structure will be known as zygosporangia 4, and the swollen part is known as sporangia. But since it also arises from a zygote, it will be known as zygosporangium. And after that, as you all know students, the sporangium or the zygosporangium will rupture or burst out to release the spores stored inside it. The spores will now germinate or grow into a new hypha. This process is also known as conjugation, as the negative strain and positive strain are in conjugate relationship. So this is how Phycomycetes or Zygomycetes reproduce asexually and sexually. Now let us talk about the next class of fungi, that is Basidiomycetes, and understand its mode of reproduction and structure.